Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Mrs.Biology with Hinal. So in this video we are going to discuss about end of the chapter questions for chapter 11, that is respiration and gas exchange. So let's start. Take up your notebooks and pen with you, and you can pause the video anytime and then write down the answers. First question is, which of this description applies to aerobic respiration, which to anaerobic, and which to the both? So first of all, we need to find out that this A, B, C, D description, are they related to aerobic, anaerobic, or for the both? First, A is lactic acid and alcohol are made. So they are the terms which are related to anaerobic respiration. As lactic acid is the one which takes place in the muscle cells and alcohol is made in the yeast, which is the fermentation process. Anaerobic is basically in absence of oxygen. So first one is related to anaerobic respiration. Second one is energy released from the glucose. So energy will be released from the glucose in both aerobic also and anaerobic also. As the first pathway remains the same, the breakdown of the glucose takes place in both aerobic or anaerobic, that is in presence or absence of oxygen. The aerobic and anaerobic respiration remains the same. As you can see from my notes, for both of the respiration, glucose breakdown pathway remains the same, that is in presence or absence of glucose in both. The first stage remains common, that is the breakdown of glucose molecule, which is the process known as glycolysis. Lysis means splitting up of glucose molecule, or we can also call it as glycolytic pathway. So the first pathway remains the same for both of them. Aerobic also, anaerobic also. They both will go for the breakdown of the glucose, but in the anaerobic respiration, it changes its pathway and it will release carbon dioxide and hydrogen, the water molecule. But here in aerobic respiration, after glycolysis, it will move towards the link reaction, Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. So first pathway remains the same. The breakdown of the glucose remains the same. After that, the anaerobic pathway changes its step. Moving to the C1, carbon dioxide made. So carbon dioxide is made in both, in basically humans aerobic respiration also and in yeast also. So if you check out the equations which are given in your textbook, right here we have aerobic respiration, the glucose molecule which combines with oxygen, it provides the byproduct carbon dioxide and water. So that's the aerobic respiration. And in yeast also it is made. In yeast, by the fermentation process, glucose breaks down into alcohol and carbon dioxide. So basically in both, but you need to mention that aerobic respiration in humans, anaerobic respiration in yeast, because in anaerobic respiration in humans, the lactic acid is formed, carbon dioxide is not. So you need to be aware. You need to mention the term that in humans, aerobic respiration, and in yeast, and in humans, aerobic respiration, and in yeast, anaerobic respiration. So basically both. So here you can write aerobic in humans and anaerobic in yeast. That's for the C1. The next one we have heat release. Of course, heat will be released in both aerobic and anaerobic. Whenever there is a breakdown of some molecules, heat will be lost, heat will be released. So heat release will be both aerobic and anaerobic. Moving towards the second question, explain the meaning of the term gas exchange surface in human lungs. So answer for that will be the part of the body where oxygen enters and CO2 leaves. That will be the answer for second loop. Part of the body where oxygen enters and carbon dioxide leaves. Next one, we have list 3 features of gas exchange surface. And the C is also connected to that. Explain how features in your list help gas exchange to happen efficiently. So first of all, you need to list down the features, and then in the C, you need to explain the same. So in B, you just need to list the features down. So the features are large surface area, second one will be good blood supply, third one will be good supply of air containing oxygen. Good supply of air containing oxygen. These are the 3 features. Also, one more you can write down that the surfaces are very thin. That is also one of the features of the gas exchange surface. Here they have asked you to list down 3, but the extra one is thin surface area. Now you need to explain each of them. So if we talk about the large surface area, that means that a lot of oxygen and carbon dioxide can diffuse across the surface simultaneously. Since it has large surface area, the more the surface area, the more will be the diffusion. And here diffusion is what? Basically for CO2 and oxygen. Then there is good supply of blood. Good supply of blood means it will bring down more of the carbon dioxide to the surface, so that carbon dioxide will diffuse out and takes away the oxygen. Okay, so if there will be good supply of oxygen or blood supply, what happens is there will be a greater amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide present in the blood, so that from the surfaces it can be diffused easily. So the blood flow is good, right? And we have seen the structure of the arteries, which are that is basically the tuft of the capillaries which were around the radial line. It is this picture of your book. So there is a great supply of the blood right here, so that there will be an easy way for the carbon dioxide and oxygen to enter in the blood, and also the gradient, diffusion gradient for the gases between the air and the blood will also be maintained if the supply of blood is good. Next explanation is good supply of air containing oxygen. So basically the explanation for this is having a good supply of air brings fresh oxygen to the surface and takes away carbon dioxide. Therefore, of course, they will also maintain the diffusion gradient for these gases between air and the blood. Air containing oxygen, that is the fresh oxygen, will be there on the surface. Therefore, the oxygen will diffuse more. Lastly, we have the thin, that the cell membranes, basically it is one cell thick only. The distances across the membrane is very low. Therefore, there will be faster diffusion which can take place. So, if you want, you can take the reference from here also. This surfaces, they have the characteristic which help to process quick and efficient. So 1, 2, 3, 4 which I explained are given over here. So you can take the reference for the same. First of all, just list down and then downwards you need to explain it. So B and C for the second questions are done. So this question is now moving to the third one. Copy and complete this table to summarize what happens during the breathing. Or for question 2, you can just use this also for your reference. So you can just pause the video right here and write down second A, B and C for the same. The wordings and the spellings are given right here. So if you have any confusion, you can pause here and you can write down the same. For the third one, we have copy and complete this table to summarize what's happening during the breathing. Now we need to tell that during breathe in and breathe out, what are the position of this particular external intercostal muscles, diaphragm muscles, volume and pressure changes. So you can take for the third question, you can take the reference from this particular figure which are given in your textbook. Now when you breathe in, what is the position of external intercostal muscle? So external intercostal muscle relax when lowering of the rib is there. Now you need to check out when the ribs are getting lowered. So when is the ribs is getting lowered? That is during the expiration. So when you breathe in, expiration is when you breathe out. So you will write down that when you breathe out, at that time external intercostal muscle relaxes, because they relaxes when lowering of the rib is there, and when the ribs are getting lowered, when expiration is there, that is when you breathe out. So therefore, first of all, external intercostal muscles, when you breathe out, it relaxes, and external intercostal muscle contract, raising the rib. Ribs are being raised when expiration is taking place. When you breathe in, inspiration, inhalation. When you breathe in, the ribs is getting raised, and when ribs is getting raised, external intercostal muscle contract. So you can take the reference from this. Second one, the diaphragm muscles. When you breathe in, you see right here, when you breathe in, what happens to the diaphragm. So you can see that when you breathe in, the diaphragm is being lowered down, that is, it is being contracted down. And when you breathe out, the diaphragm raises, that is, it is getting relaxed. So diaphragm muscles will relax when you breathe out during the expiration. And when you breathe in, they are lowered down, that is, they are contracted. For the volume of the thorax cavity when you breathe in. So the volume of thorax cavity increases when you breathe in, but when you breathe out, the volume decreases. And the volume and the pressures are inversely proportional. So if volume is increasing over here, when you breathe in, inspiration takes place, the pressure decreases. So you can use the table right here for your question, which we have seen through the diagram. Okay, you can take a moment and write down the same. Now your next question, that is the fourth question, it is important and it is linking with the transport in the animals also. It says, describe in detail the pathway of oxygen molecule as it moves from the air outside your body and into your blood. and to the cell in the muscles in your arm. So you need to mention from outside your body into the blood and into the cell muscles in your arms. So you could write your answer in word diagram, that is in the form of the flow diagram or histogram. So you will need to think about what you have learned about human transport system as well as in this. So this question is linking both of the chapters, so it's very interesting. Let's start how you can write it. So right here, this is how you can just make a note. First of all, the air, it is basically the oxygen molecule along with the inhalation. It will enter into the trachea, into the bronchus, bronchioles, alveoles. That is to the mass flow of the air. Then from the wall of the alveolus, it is getting diffused into the blood, basically into the blood capillaries. Then in the blood capillaries, it is getting diffused with the RBC, red blood cells, where oxyhemoglobin will be produced. Hemoglobin is a polypeptide chain which is present like this. So main function of RBCs is to carry oxygen, which we have already studied in the transport of animals chapter. So hemoglobin like this, it carries oxygen molecules. 4 oxygen molecules will be carried out with 1 hemoglobin molecule. And if we talk about atoms, then it is 8 atoms. So this is how they will sit in the polypeptide chain. So now we have oxyhemoglobin ready with us. Hemoglobin will, so basically now oxygenated blood, you can see, right? It will come into the pulmonary vein. For this, you can take the reference of the picture right here from transport of animals. So pulmonary vein is the one which carries oxygenated blood towards the heart. The veins function is carry blood towards the heart. Arteries A, from arteries A carries blood away from the heart. Away. So artery always carry blood away from the heart, vein always carry blood towards the heart. But here we have pulmonary because it is coming from the lungs. So pulmonary vein is the one which carries blood into the left atrium of the heart. From left atrium, the blood is moving down into the left ventricle. Then the blood is being pumped out of the heart into the aorta. So this is the picture reference which you can take for this particular section. Okay, and you can write it down like this. Left atrium, we have reached. From there, left ventricle, pumped out of the heart through the aorta. Now we have the subclavian arteries with us, which carries blood away from the heart. Since the main destination where we need to reach is muscles of your arm, therefore there will be subclavian arteries which are particularly for the arm muscles only. I'll show you the location for the same. So if you see this figure right here, we have the subclavian veins and subclavian arteries right here present in the arm. Because our main destination is to reach out the blood to the muscles of the arm. So these are the subclavian arteries which are here, which will collect the oxygenated blood into the muscle. Then the blood will reach into the capillaries of the arm muscles. Capillaries are the one which branch out further on so that each and every cell will get the oxygenated blood. Then from the arteries it will reach into the capillaries. From the capillaries it will diffuse into red blood cells of the arm muscles. Some of the blood will diffuse out of the capillaries. It will be mixed with the fluid tissue like this because of the difference in the pressure, and then it will be absorbed into the muscle sink. So from the tissue fluid into the muscle cells where they are present. So that's the overview of how the blood, oxygenated blood is reaching to the muscle of your arm, which is the destination. Next is fifth question. A girl breathed into a machine that recorded the volume of the air that she breathed in and out. The results were recorded as graph of volume against time. So on the x-axis we have time in seconds and volume on the y-axis. X-axis we always have the independent variable. That is the one which we are changing. It depends on us. That is the person who is doing the experiment, and the volume is the dependent variable. This is the tip required for your paper 6. Dependent variable is from the name itself. It is dependent on the independent variable. So as in how the independent variable changes, the dependent variable also changes. Just a small tip for your revision for paper 6. The diagram shows result obtained when she was at rest and when she was exercising. So this is particular graph when she was resting, and when she was exercising shows this. A1 is use the first graph to find out how many breaths per minute the girl took while she was resting. Per minute we are asking, so 60 seconds. Okay, so A is use the first graph to find out how many breaths per minute the girl took while she was resting. Per minute means 60 seconds. So till here only you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So answer for the first will be 12. Next is use the second graph to find out how many breaths per minute the girl took while she was exercising it. Again per minute, so till here only you need to count. So you again count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21. So answer for second is 21. B will be 21. So that's how you count the breaths. Next up we have use the first graph to find out the volume of the first breath that she took while she was resting. So now you need to find out the volume. So here if you notice that in the grid line these are the cubes which are given to you. 1, 2 and 3 cubes. Okay. Now 0.5 dm cube is already given to you guys, and they are asking that take the volume of the first breath that she took. So first breath, it is involving only 1 cube, and 1 cube is already given. It is equal to 0.5 dm cube. Therefore your answer will be 0.5 dm cube, because they have already mentioned it, they have already given. And if you see, the grid lines are given to you. These are the lines which are given. You need to check out those lines. The breath are in between the grid lines only, and that is 1 cube occupying, and 1 cube is equal to 0.5 dm cube. So answer for C will be 0.5 dm cube. Why? Because 3 cubes are given. 1 cube is equal to 0.5 dm cube. That has already been given. Next up we have use the second graph to find out the volume of the second breath that she took while she was exercising. So now if you guys have your textbooks with you, it will be more clearer, or I can just zoom in a bit. If you notice here in this graph, the second breath which she is taking, here she is occupying 1 and 2 cubes. 2 cubes are being occupied fully. This line and this line. If you have your textbooks, you can just see it clearly. See, these are the lines. So, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So this is the first cube, this is the second cube. 1 cube is equal to 0.5 dm cube already given. But if you see a second red, it's a little bit more than the 2 cubes. So first of all, just find out for first 1 cube is equal to 0.5 dm cube. Second cube is equal to 0.5 dm cube because that's what is given. So basically it is 0.5 into 2. That will be 1 dm cube. But since it's little bit more than the second cube also, therefore it is 1.1 dm cube to be very precise, because it's a bit more. 2 cube se bhi thoda upar hai, it's more like here, see. So that's why it is 1.1 dm cube. So your answer will be 1.1 dm. Moving towards the E, explain how this changes in rate and the depth of the breathing help the girl to do the exercise. So answer for that will be, that is for the E will be, explain how changes in rate and depth of breathing help the girl to do the exercise. So what is you see in this graph is there is a rapid breathing. Okay, there is the person who is doing the exercise, the breaths are more per minute, 22 breaths per minute, and here only 12. So because of that, what happens is more rapid breathing brings fresh air into the lungs very often. And the deeper, that's what, when you are breathing rapidly, the breath goes deeper. So as it goes deeper, so deeper breathing brings a larger volume of fresh air into the lungs. Because of that, there will be, if air is more, you have inhaled the more air, more oxygen can diffuse into the blood, therefore it is more quick. So supplying more oxygen to the muscles so that they can respire faster, releasing more energy from the glucose. So that's how the changes in rate and depth. Rate means how rapid this particular person is breathing, 22 breaths per minute, and depth, how deeply the person is taking the breath, which helps them to bring more oxygen. If more oxygen will be there, it will diffuse more rapidly into the blood. Therefore, the muscles will get more oxygen. It will respire faster, releasing much of the energy from the glucose. So that's the answer for E. So you can take a movement over here and you can pause the video and write down the wordings which I just explained for the same question. Okay, you can pause the video and you can take the particular writings in your end chapter question, which will help you guys. Next up, we have described the mechanism that brought about these changes in rate and depth of the breathing in the girl's body. Now, what is the mechanism that has been changed when the person was breathing very deeply and rapidly? This question, you need to have to go through the concept of the changes in the pH, where the blood will sense out that what kind of changes has taken place. So what happens is, you can take the reference from this last paragraph of your textbook which is given, or just for the reference, I'm explaining you right here what happens is, see, as soon as you breathe faster, what happens is, of course, the oxygen, when you are breathing faster, oxygen will diffuse faster. So if oxygen is diffused into the blood faster, on the same time, carbon dioxide is diffused out in a faster rate, or basically carbon dioxide, which is the byproduct of aerobic respiration, say, it is produced in a faster amount into the blood. Okay, so what happens is, brain will sense this change. As the carbon dioxide level increases in your blood, what happens to the pH? The pH will fall down as more of the carbon dioxide will be produced into the blood. So that drop down in the pH will be monitored out into the basically by your brain cells, which have the senses for the lowering down of the pH. See, why pH will lower down is because when this blood plasma basically, when it will dissolve with the carbon dioxide, therefore it increases the. See, this you will study in higher grades in detail, but I'll just give you a short preview that why pH decreases. pH decreases means if this is the pH scale over here, you have 7, it will go below the 7. Below 7, you have acidic medium. Above 7, you have basic medium. Now just see the simple concept which I am trying to tell you. Since you are breathing faster, oxygen is diffused more, carbon dioxide is diffused out, or say carbon dioxide is produced more in the cell as a byproduct because oxygen has been used up. Carbon dioxide is produced more as a metabolic waste. So what happens is this CO2 will fuse with the blood plasma, which we have already discussed, that blood do contain a liquid part which is known as blood plasma. So when this CO2 will combine with the blood plasma, it will form H2CO3, which is carbonic acid. It is weak acid which is formed in the blood. So since it is making acidic, the pH will be decreased, and this decrease in the pH will be detected by your brain cells. Because brains have the sensory organs where their drop down in the pH will be perfectly be monitored by them. So brain cells lower down in the pH will be detected by the brain cells. And then they will send out a signal that what you need to do is that more frequent impulses needs to be done because this person is doing heavy exercise. How that body will get to know that person is having deep exercise? Because the quickness is more. CO2 has been produced more. As CO2 is produced more, H2CO3 is produced more, carbonic acid, and pH is getting lowered down. So therefore, brain are the one which will send the impulses to the muscles. Impulses will be sent to the muscles. And they will try to contract the heart in a faster manner, that we need more oxygen. So this is what the mechanism is involved. That's what they are asking you right here. If you see your end chapter question, what mechanism is involved that changes in breadth and depth of the breathing in the girl's body? So that mechanism is that drop down in pH is being monitored by the brain cells. Brain cells will send the signals to the breathing muscles that please breathe more rapidly because this person requires more oxygen. And therefore your heart will contract more rapidly to get the oxygen. And that's how this whole mechanism works during the breathing. I'll give you the wordings, but I hope you have understood the question of why pH is getting lowered. Okay, because CO2 which is produced, it will mix with the blood plasma and form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid makes the pH lower, and therefore it is detected by the brain cells. Our wordings which you can write down for your reference in your text, in your answers. Brain senses the pH of the blood, that is the pH decreases during the exercise. How it decreases I already explained you. Because more carbon dioxide is dissolved in the blood plasma, brain will respond it by sending more frequent impulses to the breathing muscles that please breathe faster. So they contract harder and more frequently, and therefore more oxygen will be given to the particular muscles while exercising. That's the mechanism involved. Okay, so here is calculate the increase in student's breathing rate from when he start to exercise to its maximum rate. So first of all, you need to check out that when he's starting the exercise, the breathing rate is between 10 to 15. Now you need to see the 10, then comes the 11, 12. So here you need to just make a graph. If you have a textbook with you, it will be 11 somewhere here, 12 somewhere here. So it is, I guess, 12.5 over here. Here is 12 and this is the 12.5. So 12.5 per minute is when he started the exercise. Now to its maximum rate. Now here is the maximum rate right here, which is 25 per minute. Now they are asking calculate the increase in the student's breathing rate. So first of all, it was 12.5 at the start. So how much it has increased to reach the 25? So it is 12.5 only. That is 12.5 twice. It will give you 25. So increase will be 12.5 breaths per minute. That will be your answer. Because first at the start it is 12.5 per minute. Later on it is 25 per minute. Okay, that is 25 breaths per minute. Now they are asking the increase, the difference between them. The difference is, the increase is basically 12.5 only. 12.5 into 2, that is twice the 12.5, which will give you answer the 25. So calculate the increase in students' breathing activity. So increase will be 12.5 breaths per minute. Next is calculate how long it took after he finished exercise for his breathing rate to return to its normal. So here is where the exercise stops. So exercise stops like just before 11 minutes. Here, right here. So 10 is here, 12 is here. So in between we will have 11. So it stops here. And till here it is taking time to come to the normal, that is at the 16 minutes. So 16 minus 11, that will give you 5 minutes. So it takes 5 minutes time, that is this time which is shown, it is 5 minutes. 5 minutes time it will take after he finishes the exercise, so that his breathing rate will come to a normal. Next one, we have explain why his breathing rate did not return to normal immediately after the exercise stops. The concept of oxygen depth comes here. I hope you remember that concept. If not, you can check out the video for the same, which I have uploaded to explain the oxygen depth. So what you can write down in this is that during the exercise, not enough oxygen was supplied to the muscles, so they respired anaerobically, which produced the lactic acid. So now this lactic acid needs to be broken down into the liver by combining with the oxygen after he finishes the exercise. So that is, when he is completing his exercise, he takes the breaths heavily, deeply, so that more oxygen will be mixing up with the lactic acid, which will break down, and immediately the breathing rate will come to a normal after completion of the lactic acid breakdown, that is the oxygen depth which has been taken place, the paying back the oxygen depth. So that's what you need to write down for the C1. You can take the reference from here, pause the video and write down, during exercise not enough oxygen was supplied, so they respired anaerobically, producing lactic acid, which has to be broken down by combining with oxygen, and that's the reference for paying back to the oxygen depth. Last question is, describe and explain how would you expect the student's heart rate to change during the 16-minute period shown on the graph. How you will explain this particular pattern, that's what they are asking, that at the start the breaths are low. When he or she is exercising, the breaths per minute increases. When he stops the exercise, still the breaths continues, and then after some time it comes to an end. So what is the main concept which is applying over here? That's what you need to describe and explain both. So of course this whole graph is showing you the oxygen depth concept. So you need to explain the same over here. We tell you the wordings for the same. So here is what you can write down again. The same pattern follows for the breathing rate. Heart pumps oxygenated blood to the muscles. More oxygen is required by the muscles as they exercise it. So therefore there is more breathing so that they can respire faster. More carbon dioxide needs to be removed from the muscles. Continuing need for more oxygen after exercise to pay off the oxygen debt. So that's how you can follow the trend. Heart will pump more oxygenated blood to the muscles. So therefore more oxygen is required by the muscles as they are exercising it. So therefore there was high breaths per minute, 25 breaths per minute. Then more carbon dioxide needs to be removed from the muscles. So therefore after continuing, like when we have seen that till the 16 minutes it reached, after that only the breathing comes to an end. Why? Because it needs to take the breaths where oxygen needs to be paid off after the exercise also. So that's how you can explain it. I hope this video helped you guys to write down the questions for the same. And these are some of the important questions also. This oxygen depth questions and graphical questions are important for this chapter. So you can just make a note and be prepared for your exam. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe if you liked my video. And for any queries, you can comment down in the comment box for the same.